Dude, I'm fucking stoked you're back, man.
I'm excited to be back. Thanks for having me, man.
Of course, man. Of course. So, I mean, we were just chatting. I'm done with these fucking clunky intros where I pause everything and say, 3, 2, 1, and then make it super fucking awkward. Because we were just chatting for a while, and I don't know, probably cut in some of that. I don't know, but
Yeah.
dude, there's a lot going on right now, man. We got the Reworks thing coming out Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck, man.
Yeah, really excited for that. Coming up quick. That whole thing got pieced together fairly short amount of time. And I mean, with the amount of time that from like conception to now for what the normal time frame for a full length album would be it's been crazy.
You're right,
it's
man.
been very, very quick, but I mean, honestly, I couldn't be more happy with the result of what everybody put into it.
Oh, 100%, man. Oh, it's totally true, because I didn't realize this so much as to, I think, how I understand it now. But when a label puts an album out, it does take a ton amount of time, because the music can be done, and then piecing all the things together to actually do the publishing, get everything. I mean, that can be a whole lot in itself. And this thing, from inception to being out, it is quick. It's crazy.
It's been quick, and yeah, I mean the quality of work that happened in that quick amount of time was just, I mean, I guess it's a testament to the people that are on it. Honestly,
Yep.
like it's always kind of, when it's a quick turnaround like that, you almost get nervous about what the results. It's quality over quantity type deal, and the quality is all there. So couldn't be more happy with it.
Oh, for sure, man. And I mean, I totally agree. I've listened through, like, when Kyle sent over the masters, I listened through everything, and I listened through everything again, just getting ready for us to chat, and it's amazing. And it's so cool because there's so many different genres that are brought into this Reworks. I mean, it's as you go through from start to finish, everything is so unique, and it's great, man. It's amazing. And I feel super fortunate to be, in here as well. And speaking to kind of time pressures, it's funny because I kind of threw things together really quickly, but other people may feel the same way. I kind of feel like that got me really focused, because now I just sit on projects open-ended for months, and I haven't been finishing anything,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have no kind of, I guess, deadline or any type of driving force to something. Sometimes you can just sit and muddle in something forever. I mean, sometimes it's nice to have kind of that pushing force to make sure that you get something done.
Yeah, for sure. Having a deadline is, and I found with myself too, like I'll get busy with other shit, so then that gets put on the back burner. But I almost think it's important like that, to just set sort of, I don't know, almost internal pressures like that to get certain things done. Because you're right, I'll do the same. I'll just muddle with shit. Like I have a bunch of stuff that's open that's not being worked on, that should be being worked on. But yeah, man, this thing I'm really, really excited for. There's some guys on there, guys and girls on there, that are just so talented. And it's cool because a lot of the it's just, again, so cool with this little world that I've gotten introduced to, because there's a lot of guys and girls who are releasing on the Reworks album that have come on the podcast too. I mean, like Jameson Nathan Jones, Philip G. Anderson, Sophie. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Jacob too. I mean,
Jacob.
It's kind of I mean, first of all, when I was kicking around the idea to Kyle, I had no idea that we were going to get all these artists to do it. I was just originally, I mean, maybe it could have been 2 or 3 tracks. Maybe some of the singles that I put out have some people rework it, like just maybe my friends. When I brought it up to Kyle, I mean, he seemed to really like the idea, and I think I had been listening to some like Stefan Bodzen.
Oh yeah.
one of
We
his
were
albums.
chatting about that. Yeah.
Yeah. One of his albums got reworked, and I think I was listening to it, and I was like, well, that would be sweet to do something like with a bunch of electronic producers and stuff like that. But it's kind of crazy coming full circle, like Nathan Jones and Jacob Pavic. I mean, those are some of the first guys that I reached out to when I first started trying to do music, and I was asking them just little tips and advice, and they couldn't have been nicer. Now to be on the same project with them reworking or reimagining something that I wrote when I was asking them a year ago.
Yeah.
Tips it's pretty awesome to see it come full circle like that.
Oh, for sure, man. And it must be it must be a great, I don't know, just kind of putting myself in your shoes. It must be so cool to have this perspective at this point, because as you mentioned, like you were asking tips from these guys earlier on, and now with By the Woods having if you look at how people are listening to it on Spotify, it's incredible. I mean, it's really gotten picked up, and a lot of people love it because it is beautiful. And now to see that, you're right, like people going in and working on this collaborative experience to do a reworks of it is just got to be so cool.
Yeah, it honestly is. I feel really fortunate, especially, like we were talking about the amount of time that it took to come together, that many people just jumped on board and really, gave it 100% effort and really gave really good results. So, yeah. I'm very thankful for all of them, and I feel really fortunate that everybody agreed to do it. It's awesome.
Yeah, man. Yeah. That, I mean, as you mentioned, kind of going into it with the idea of maybe a handful of people working on it or putting out a few tracks that are reworks, and then to see, I mean, because it's all of the songs plus two doubles for the reworks. Yeah, 2 bonus. And then so I think it's a lot, like 16 tracks or
16 tracks, yeah. 16 tracks, 18 artists.
Yeah.
About an hour long. So it's it's a pretty substantial album. A lot of new music, and I mean I find myself listening to it, and I think about it, and I'm like, wow, why didn't I think of that? I wrote the original piece, but that's what's cool is just hearing other people, what they take out of a melody or a sound and just make it completely something different.
Yeah. I think for myself, that can be some of the most enjoyable times to work on music, because you already kind of have a foundation. So then you get to see where you can take something. Like I remember, this track, and then also with, I did this. I don't know if you've heard of Enamor. He's an electronic artist on in June. He had a remix competition. Yeah. He had a remix competition, and I submitted a track for it. But having kind of the foundation to say like, okay, this is a foundation for the melodic structure. Then kind of what can you form it into? I think, I don't know, that is really, really fun. It almost just sets some fun, kind of creative parameters. So you have to work within some sort of limitation, some sort of box, rather than, you're sitting there and you're like, let's see what comes out kind of deal. It could be a different beast. Yeah.
It is nice to have those parameters like you were talking about. I mean, a couple of months ago, I did a rework of Nils Fromm's 4. Mm-hmm. It's all a Juno. It's just this really lush sounding Juno, and I reworked it just on my piano. And I remember that was really fun to write, just because I knew I wasn't going to be writing anything completely new.
Right.
I was just playing it in a way that was different. And I think with a lot of the artists, I think that was just them playing it different in their own style, which is really cool.
Yeah. I agree, man. And it's so cool to see how other people, how other people approach it, because everything is so different, and everything on there is beautiful, but there are some that stand out to me, like Maxi Dutcher's rework is amazing, just because that's a genre of music I love so much, and it's just so cool to see that that mix between what you've provided with the foundation of the song and the piano part, and then kind of all the ambience behind it too is just, it just takes in a totally different direction, totally new.
That guy's a real deal. I mean, I can't wait people to find out more about Maxi.
Yeah.
Sure. Like, dude, it's unreal.
Yeah. That's one thing I think is so cool with what Kyle's doing, because he will do a lot of that. Like, he'll do collaborations or reworks with a lot of different artists. And, in this case, I saw Maxi had I think it was a rework for Kyle. And then that, it's almost like acting as a platform too. Like, people get to showcase their music because Kyle's been doing this forever and he has a label and everything. So, and you're part of the label too. I wanted to mention that because I actually didn't. It's funny, when we talked, I didn't know that. And then when I started to get ready to talk with Kyle, I looked at like founders of the label, and you're in there.
Yeah. Well, Kyle's actually my manager too. So
got it. Yeah.
And,
I think if I understood that correctly.
Yeah. So I've the only releases. Well, I guess Odds and Ends went out through Double J, which is a label over in London. But yeah, I mean, Sonderhaus was really the first label that I think it's hard when you're a brand new artist, never released anything. I'm sending around demos probably about a year ago right now. Sending around demos to people, and no one wants to take a flyer on somebody they've never heard of or has no release history or anything like that. And I sent By the Woods to Kyle, and I think a little bit later in the process too. I was pretty close to just putting it out on my own, actually. And Kyle got back to me, and I think within a couple hours we were on the phone talking about it. And and I mean, I couldn't be more happy about just the support that they showed me right from the beginning. They took a flyer on somebody they didn't really know anything about, and I guess it's done well. So very thankful for that.
For sure, man. That and that's an awesome story too, because you're right. Like, not having a lot of times today, I think labels will pick up artists. It depends on the label, but I know that can happen where they want to look at how someone has performed in the past to see, okay, is this gonna release well or whatever. But just being able to chat with Kyle, I can tell it's more. I mean, he's such an interesting dude because he's like such a giving guy, and you can tell it's about the music. And if he sees something in the artist or the music that artist is creating, it's like he's going to take a chance on you just because that's what he's all about. And that's so cool, and it's so needed because that's not always the case.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Yeah. It's cool what they're doing as far as giving people an opportunity to release their music that and people that otherwise their music might not get heard. They're taking flyers on people, and it's performing well. People are starting to recognize the label, and it's cool what they're doing.
Yeah, he mentioned that, and I had no idea about this, but Sonderhaus is like one of the larger now labels for modern classical, which is so cool. Like, larger independent labels for modern classical, if not like the biggest North American label or something like that. I forget exactly what he said, but he was blown away when he was able to say that to someone. And just speaking to that whole process, it's so fucking cool that your story's so amazing because you're just playing with these ideas of self-releasing or kind of shopping around to other labels and such, but he took a chance, and this path that you've had so far is just so cool because I mean the release By the Woods has done amazingly well, and to just see that is, I don't know, that's got to be, for people out there listening who are in this world, releasing music, that's be so inspiring because I remember from our last conversation, you picked this up, not piano, but you picked up releasing like this later in life, and you did it in a time when you're like, I want to do something that has a lot of meaning for me, and I want to do something, in terms of releasing music that I can be really proud of. And it's cool to be able to do that and then see see it actually take shape and see people respond to it how they have.
Yeah, it's been, and it's really crazy because I'm, and that's another thing about the reworks coming out is that's just the final chapter of By the Woods. I don't know if it was originally planned like this or not, to have it be kind of a 3-part story. The original album, there was always a plan to do a follow-up EP because I had a ton of just recorded material. And I was like, at some point, I'd probably like to get some of this other stuff off. So there was always a plan for some type of follow-up, but the reworks was something I think that really brought it all together and kind of just put a nice cap on the end of it. It's funny. Just about a year ago today was when I think I had just about started, like, wrapped up recording everything, and was watching YouTube videos and reading modern recording techniques. I have a book just sitting right over here, and the Mastering Engineer's Guide about how to mix piano and stuff like that. And I was sitting in my studio trying to figure out how to do all this stuff. And it's, in terms of like a music sense, it's been very quick. As far as how fast all this stuff has happened. I mean, and I guess my internal nature is always, I want to keep doing more and more and more. And I sometimes have to take it a second and be like, dude, a year ago, you just had your piano delivered and we're just starting to recording everything for your first project. So it's been a fun about 11 and a half, 12 months here.
Yeah, man, that is so fucking cool. And I mean, that notion that you mentioned of kind of pushing on to the next thing is, everyone has that, especially people releasing music, because that's kind of I think it's part of the beast, people who end up doing these artistic pursuits usually are kind of seeking something. So then as you release something, you get notoriety from it or feedback from people from it. Then the next instinct is to keep pushing, and keep releasing stuff. But it's tough. Like, you gotta pause and just take a moment as often as you can and just think about, what's happening. And we all got to do that. I mean, I got to do that all the time. I just, it's easy to get caught up in, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they put it really well. It was with Brendan Schaub and Bobby Lee on Tiger Belly, which doesn't seem like it's going to frame for the right conversation, but they're saying that you can't live in the results. You work on these creative pursuits and you put something out, and then you really do have to just leave it. And there's an episode that's recorded. It hasn't come out yet. It'll come out in a week. With Adam, ATTOM, and he's expressing kind of that idea where he'll release music, and then he's gotten to a point where he will look just to make sure it's kind of doing okay, maybe once or twice, and then he'll stop, man, because I am this, I'm guilty of it, and I think everyone is, but especially for myself, I can get caught up in, like, how are things performing, what's next, all these different things, when it comes down to, like, just, you can easily get caught up in those things,
It's going right off of that. I mean, I think when I first released, I had the, Spotify tracker app and all that stuff, and I was trying to see how it was doing. I think within the last, months or so, I think I've started to kind of realize that I delete it off my phone. I try not to check it at all anymore. I mean, like, every once in a while, I checked to make sure everything was in sorts with the reworks and all that, but it's such a kind of a pointless pursuit to be looking at something that you have no control over.
Right.
And I started to find that I would be looking at it and stressing myself out over something that I had absolutely no control over.
Yeah.
And it kind of started to kind of mess with my head a little bit, where I was just I was almost too caught up in it. So I completely decided to stop looking at that kind of stuff and just let it be. It's something I'm proud of. It's out there. And, just kind of let it be out in the world, let it exist.
Yeah, for sure. And then, I think that it's interesting too, because when people are looking at those kind of things, like how something's performing, like if it's released music or, I'll look at podcast metrics and stuff, if you remove yourself and you're able to like sit down with someone just by happen chance who enjoys your music, you may not see how that influences someone, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like you could meet up with someone unintentionally and they're like, I love By the Woods. It's so beautiful. Blah. They could go on and on. You're like, fuck, the music I'm making is, getting this feedback, and people are really enjoying it. And sometimes that's lost in the numbers, you don't see it, or like in the Instagram likes, it can be, it's, and then for that reason, I think people can get, and myself included, can get caught up and like see is it growing or all these different things. But yeah, man, it comes down to just being about the about the music, about what you're producing. And yeah, man, I don't know, I've been thinking more and more about that because I found myself just trying to spend as little time, except chatting with like buddies, but less and less time on Instagram and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it kind of just goes back to like square one. But what is the point of you making music? I mean, for me, it's trying to get an emotional response out of myself. Trying to get some kind of, and you can't measure that in looking at numbers and stuff. You put it out there and hopefully people have some sort of, if I'm responding to it, hopefully somebody else is. But
right.
At the end of the day, I mean, that's the goal, is that you're trying to make something that will have some kind of, people will listen to it and have some kind of emotional response to it. And you can't track that in looking at Spotify numbers and stuff like that. And it's been another thing too that I've recently started doing a lot with my Instagram is I used to think about, I wonder if I post this, how many people will respond to it or not. And now I'm starting to almost tying back into the music, going back to square one. Do I like this? Do I have some kind of feeling towards this memory of what I'm posting, or this moment that I'm posting? And if I do, put it out there. I don't care if anybody likes it or not. And maybe that's good. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just trying to kind of remove yourself from that metric system of value, I guess.
Right. Yeah. Cause I think that's so important to understand like what it is in the first place it's for, and being able to work on music, and write something and not know how it's going to start and get an idea. And then suddenly you do have this emotional response based on the melodies that come through. That is such a powerful moment, and it's something that I think people that create really understand, like musicians or artists or whatever. Like when that clicks, you're like, oh yeah, okay. And then it can get really addicting for that reason. You keep doing it. But that at the end of the day is what it's about. And then if you can translate that to someone listening to the music, then, it can be something really, really special. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%.
Yeah. How have things been since then? I mean, I'm sure now, as you mentioned, like this is kind of giving a cap to By the Woods. You had the release in 2019 of Odds and Ends, but now I'm guessing there's more things developing for the future.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think I maybe told you this last time we chatted. I'm in the process of moving. I'm moving to finally my own place where I actually have a good place where I'll be able to set up a real studio and not have to worry about offending people in my own place here. So that's been, I think it's been good. It's been very frustrating, but I think it's been good for me because it's allowed me to kind of slow down a little bit.
Yeah.
I haven't sunk myself into any big projects. I'm doing a lot of kind of one-off projects right now for some people. And doing a lot of just little recordings and stuff like that. As soon as I get into my new place, that's when I think things will start to ramp up a bit and I can get into a singular workflow. I think that's important when you decide to embark on writing something big or something meaningful, not rushing yourself around. So it's this kind of pause right now has been pretty good for me. I think it's kind of allowed me to just kind of take a step back and get better at things. I would kind of talk to you about this before. I'm like addicted to like learning new things as far as production, playing. pretty much anything sound, how to treat rooms, what kind of
Yeah.
rooms sound good and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's been just constantly learning and trying to figure out a bunch of different stuff right now. As well as working on, I think I have like 2 or 3 little projects that, I don't know if they've been announced or not yet. So,
they're in the works.
Yeah. So I don't want to like step on anybody's toes.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's been good. It's been stressful, and the fact of moving is always stressful, but relaxing in the fact that taking some pressure off myself and just allowing myself to just have some time to think, kind of re-up and get better for the next project.
Yeah. Do you find when you're in that process of creating new music, do you find that it you kind of need to have maybe like a regimented schedule, or be in the flow of like, hey, every day I'm working on music right after I get home from work, and treating that as kind of this process? Or what's that like? I mean, do you find that if you're caught in the middle of everything moving, you just don't have a lot of time to work on projects? Does that really hinder that creative process?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I think for me it varies a lot. I do think being in a routine is good, as far as creating stuff, because then you can kind of get into that creative process. But for me, I guess it kind of happens spontaneously. I'll sit down and start just playing with something, noodling around with something, and it could be if I have a day off right when I wake up in the morning, or it could be if, my roommate's not home or something really late at night, or he's like gone out or going and doing something, and it's 2 a.m. and it's really quiet, and I turn up my mics really loud and the mic freeze and everything, and just start playing around. There's not like, I guess, a regimented schedule. I think that's something that will probably change once I get into my own place and I have kind of more freedom to create my own schedule. I don't really create my own schedule right now, so I just, whenever I have a chance to sit down and play and work on things is when I do it. When I'm not doing that, I'm reading, watching stuff about how when I do get that opportunity to do it better.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because when I listen to your music, it's cool because you'll have solo piano, but it's not curated in a sense where it sounds like it's been. It almost is like you're there in the moment while you're creating, which is so cool. Like there's such beautiful melodies that come through the music, but it's like you're almost put right in this time where you caught this really beautiful melody, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
I feel really close and kind of to that creative process when I listen to your music. So if you take a step back, you can go and listen to guys who are more on the electronic spectrum, where everything's down to the millisecond thought of, as like how it's going to fit, and I love that about your music, that it is expressive and it's like in the moment where these ideas are coming through. So it must be so cool to have those times when you're working on music, as you mentioned, like maybe your roommate's gone or whatever, and you can sit there and play with things, and when it catches, and if your mics are on, that, hey, this can be something that will develop into something that's going to be on a track and people are going to relate to. Yeah,
certainly. Yeah, it is. I think that's a good way of putting it. It's just kind of capturing some different moments from when I decided to turn the mics on and actually record something. I think when we were talking earlier before we started recording, I was going to say By the Woods coming to an end on Friday, or I guess not coming to an end, but kind of when you release it, it's almost kind of done. You're on to the next thing.
Right.
But it's almost kind of bittersweet, because I think By the Woods, it's almost like a very innocent album. It's very naive, me just sitting down at the piano and playing, having no idea what releasing music is about. No idea about what the music industry is really about, how to network with anybody. It was really just me putting some mics on my piano and playing stuff. And it just it was really pretty just innocent time of just being like, hey, this is cool. I really want to release music. I want to do this. But there was just a kind of a sense of innocence about it that in these 12 months that have transpired since, it's just been, I've learned so much and made so many more connections that it's almost would be impossible to recreate those moments, because those moments were just not knowing a ton of music theory. I mean, now I'm the biggest music theory geek. Sans Philip and Jacob. It's just, those were really simple, and now I can't go back to being in that moment anymore. And now it's on to the next things, which will probably be more developed and more surgical in kind of that sense. If that makes a sense.
Oh, it does. Yeah, totally, man. Yeah, I think you put it really well. It's like, as you were starting out in this, it's actually, I think about it, it's like, it's such a beautiful thing, because in this just realness of just wanting to make music and just being, as you mentioned, kind of like a bit naive and just saying like, hey, I want to write and release music that really moves me emotionally, and I hope that other people can connect with that. There's a rawness in that. Like it's just chiseled down to just the melodies that come through, just the piano, and you didn't have all of this understanding, as you mentioned, of like how the music industry works, like all these different factors that can kind of influence it. It was just about making that music. And I think that will, my guess is like you'll look back on that album then with such a fondness, because I think that it could be a time when, since you didn't have all these other exterior inputs, you could just really kind of get to a real raw emotional expression of the music you want to create. And then you'll be able to do that still as things move forward, but it's like you were so new, you didn't have these other influences, that it can be so beautiful for that reason, I guess. Yeah.
No, you put it, that's exactly it.
It's cool, dude. Fuck.
It's fun. And I mean, I'm very excited for now. It's exciting because now, knowing what I know now, what I know I'll be able to create in the future is also very exciting. But it's just like, it's so simple back then, just not really giving a shit. Just kind of just, if I have a response to this, it must mean something.
Right.
Not looking into things too much.
Right. But I love that, man. Sometimes I think the most beautiful melodies and tracks are when there's two things. They can be very, very simple. Some of like the most beautiful songs that I can relate to have a simple melody, but then you also understand that it's like this genuine, like something genuine is coming through the music, that's what ties me and other listeners to. And I think that's what you were capturing when you were working on these songs. Like it wasn't, totally thought out, like, okay, I got to get it on this label, that label, and just like this curate. It was just honest in that process of creating an emotional response. And man, I think that's so cool. I think that's, it's awesome, man. Yeah, dude. I'm totally excited to see what's to come, because seeing this track, chatting with you. When did I think it was something like 4 or 5 months ago the first time.
There was about like 3 feet of snow on the ground when we chatted. So here there was a lot. I think maybe like December or something around
like
then.
But... It was, or I guess, because I saw on Skype it said 4 months ago, but that can't be right. I don't think it was early. I think it was still 2018. I don't know. It's been a while. My sense of time is horrible too. My memory's god awful.
It seems it's funny because it seems like it doesn't seem like it was that long ago, but I think the amount of things that both of us have learned within that amount of time, and how many different experiences probably both of us have had within that time. I mean, look at your studio, the YouTube channel, all of that, how much it's grown since then to now. I mean, it seems like a long time, but it's not. But you've just learned so much. I think that's one of the things that is really, I guess, polarizing and addicting about music, is this industry and community is that there's always something you can be doing and learning.
Totally.
There's never a time when you're just sitting idly twiddling your fingers.
Yeah.
There's always something you could be connecting with somebody, growing your network, and learning new things.
Oh, 100%, man. And I think that there's something to that for sure. I mean, there's times where you always can be, and really, you know, as an artist, kind of owe it to yourself to be working on these other things, because other people are out there doing the same, you know, so you want to progress and move forward, but then it's a double-edged sword, because then for myself, I think about those things, and like, if I'm ever just sitting and watching New Girl or something, then it's just, I feel guilty, you know. It's like, I try and, you know, have certain times where I know I'm going to be working on stuff, and then times I turn it off and I'm like hanging with my girlfriend or something. That's a good way to do it. But yeah, man, because you're right. There's always something to be working on. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's another, it's kind of about like social media, is that it almost like drives you to, it has, I think maybe Philip Anderson talked about it, but that comparison is the killer of creativity.
Yeah.
I'd say you go on social media and stuff like that, and you start comparing yourself about, well, I'm just sitting around here, but I'm enjoying myself, and I'm like living my life, which might actually have more of an input or something better. Just living your life, you might be able to come up with something more, connect with yourself a little bit more,
right?
Rather than constantly be like, you know, work. I think you do need to like take every once in a while, just live a little bit, or just enjoy the moment. And I guess sometimes social media, I look at it and I start comparing my, like, oh my gosh, this person has a single out, this person has a single out.
Right.
I should probably pump something out instead of just kind of take a step back. You know?
Oh, dude, 100%. And you know, another piece that, as you mentioned, is like creativity or comparing yourself as the killer of creativity. Like, that is for sure true, because if you go and then you see, oh, this style of music is gaining a lot of popularity, you'll see people jump on and start making that genre, you know, and you're just emulating it. I'm not, you know, I'm just saying, you know, you in people in general, society, but people will start making that genre of music, and then, you know, this thing blows up for a while, and everyone kind of gravitates to it in the social media world, and that, I think, does it can do a lot of harm, because you're totally hindering yourself when you're just going and like, how does this work? How do they do it? Okay, I'm going to just emulate that thing. I mean, that's just total bullshit. And that's just everywhere in social media. I mean, that's, yeah.
I think you can tell the people that actually genuinely make it out of an emotional response to something, as opposed to people who are just trying to make a track for a playlist or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to put my foot in my mouth about anything like that, but there's just, I think you can tell that there's artists that this is genuinely who they are. This is the music they want to be making. This is what they are emotionally responding to while they're making it, and you can tell in their music when you listen to it. I mean, I listen to other pianists and stuff, and you can tell that. You can almost feel it in the way they're playing it, that really this is what they're doing, as opposed to just trying to pump out a piano track just because people like piano on Spotify.
Yeah, man. And I mean, I'm totally in the same boat. I've been listening to more artists looking for that. Like, almost, I've gotten really interested when artists will do something that seems like it almost isn't going to work, just because it's being kind of genuine to their sound, I guess. Like, there's some examples where I don't want to say doesn't work. I just mean like really being honest to what they want to make. Like, so Lane 8, for example, I was re-listening to some of his music the other day, and you can, like, I get the sense, at least when I'm listening to his music, that in some tracks he will stick to a very like he'll stick to an arpeggiated like repetition for the whole track, and he won't really deviate away from it. And someone who might be trying to mold to a certain sound would try and get like a big rise and a drop and all these different things, but no, it's like, and in that simplicity, it's fucking awesome because he's just sticking to what he wants to make,
Right. It's creating an atmosphere around it and everything. Don't deviate from, Chris Bartels said something. Do you else come on Chris Bartels?
Maybe.
He's up here in Minnesota too.
Okay.
Amazing. He's on the Reworks too.
Right. That's where I know the name. Yeah. I think that's the only track I know though. That's where. Yeah.
Great dude. I mean, another guy that's like been a mentor to me. But he said something like, "Don't template your art," which I think he tweeted it, and I read it, and I kind of thought about it. I was like, yeah, that's actually, it's super like a normal thing, just like a pretty basic idea. But the more you think about it, don't template your artwork or yourself to fit something else. I mean, it should be genuinely you. You shouldn't think to make something because it will get this many plays or it will get this type of response from people. You should just, even if you're going to make some weird music about I'd show you my little kalimba here and probably going to be putting some of that. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Just trying to make something that you like and don't template it.
Dude, no, 100%, man. I think that's, I love that. Yeah. Cause as you mentioned, you can tell it so quickly, and then, you find these artists who are, I think I almost feel like there's this, maybe I haven't been in tune with it, but there's this whole kind of segment of Spotify that is like high playlisting, like very kind of curated sounds that you can tell, like kind of some pop genres that it is just kind of like, I don't want to name any names, but it's just, you can tell it's trying to kind of be cookie cutter, right? But now I'm getting more in tune with some of these artists who are doing really strange things that they're almost, it's almost like a push against this I don't want to say mediocrity, but this kind of cookie cutter form. And so today when I was biking to work before I went home for the day, I was listening to Bonobo, and he had this song I was listening to. I think it was I just shuffled his music, and the progression of the song was so bizarre, and these different elements you'd pull in and how the song would change over 5 minutes, like so many different weird things. And I was like, I feel like he's just pushing to just pull. I love that, dude. And then it sits and you're like, man, this has been such a unique song. And it's for that reason, it's awesome.
Yeah. And I mean, look, it's got you thinking and talking about it. And he probably wasn't thinking about, this will get this many plays when he made it. He was probably just like, fuck it. Let's do this. Yeah. So it's, and I mean, to speak to your point, I guess, I know you probably have a lot of electronic music fans and stuff that listen to it, but I mean, in the piano neoclassical, that's a big thing, is curated playlists, stuff like that. And people writing stuff just to get on a playlist or something like that. And I guess I just don't really agree with that. I don't think it's being like true to like your normal sound if you're just writing something to get on some type of playlist or something like that. I had submitted songs for blog reviews and stuff off of Odds and Ends, and they were like, it's just an arpeggio that doesn't really go anywhere. All right, well, that's like what it is. Some chords for a siren, it's like 5 minutes, and I think like 3 minutes of it is just 2 chords in an arpeggio.
Right.
And the siren starts going off in the background.
Yeah.
So like, it sounds really good, but I was like, I don't know.
Right.
Dude. Put it on there, and that actually was it's turned out to be one of my better performing songs.
See, I love that shit, man. Yeah, cause and it's so funny, man. I've heard that frequently. People will, submit to a playlist and then it'll get turned, and it's like, what? It's so funny, man, because some of these playlists, like I remember chatting with this dude OTR a few weeks ago, and he was saying same kind of idea. Like he submitted to a really, really well-known like YouTube channel, and it got turned down a few times, but those ended up being songs later on that did so well and people loved, and it's like, you can't get too caught up in that kind of feedback often. You really have to stay true to yourself, because sometimes you don't know, like you're the artist making something beautiful, and you don't know who's on the other side saying like, I don't know if this is gonna fit. You got to be careful, because there are a lot of people who surround themselves in music who maybe aren't even making the music, and if those end up being gatekeepers, it can get real weird real fast. And then you get Kyle, who makes awesome music, and he's there for the artist, and he's trying to curate something special, and like it fits perfectly, and boom, it's something that people can really connect with for that reason, with the label and with the music. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I guess going back to kind of the reworks, I don't know if you listen to Timothy G. Taylor's rework.
Yeah.
When Sonderhouse released Timothy's EP, I was so pumped because it was so different than like a lot of the stuff that they had released. He just does these awesome organic tape loops and stuff like that.
Is that WEI? Is that right?
No, that's Way. William Lambert.
Okay, yeah.
Timothy G. Taylor, he reworked, I believe, I can't remember which one he did. Sad Song for Later, sorry.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. I listened to all of them, but I just can't pinpoint it right now. But go ahead. Sorry.
But he's probably one of my favorite artists on there, because he just they're just these super textural tape loops, and when Sonderhouse initially released his first EP, I was pumped because I was like, yes, Kyle, like,
yeah,
this is a dude who's making music that he really likes to make.
Yeah.
Probably doesn't, he's not templating anything like that. And
right.
Yeah, I mean, that's, kind of to your point. I mean, that's something that like I really liked when I listened to his rework for the first time. Yeah,
man, it's that, and I love it, dude, because I think there's more and more people now. At least I don't know if it's like the kind of bubble I live in now, because I get to talk with awesome artists who are trying to make really special music.
Right.
It could be some of that, but I feel like there's this wave of people finding importance in that realness, in whatever that medium is, if it's music or whatnot. But I think it's kind of pushing against, I don't know, just being inundated with all this, ad clickbait stuff on Instagram all the time, and I don't know, just how media's changed. I feel like there's this kind of and I think honestly, the fact that modern classical has become a more popular genre, I didn't even understand this when I first spoke with Philip, but like it's kind of emerging as something popular that a lot of people are listening to and a lot of people are writing, right? And I think that speaks to the fact that people want something raw and simplistic and beautiful, and you can really drill it down to a few elements, but that can produce something so emotionally charged that you see with this growing popularity that's what people can connect with.
Yeah, I think people just genuinely want something that's real, as opposed to something that, I think Kyle talked about it with that Old Town Road song. Like,
yeah.
It's like so artificial, just, jamming out with it. And I mean, honestly, I listen to music when I'm with friends that I probably wouldn't listen to when I'm by myself and actually trying. I think we live in such a world where there's just so much stuff going on that people just want, at the end of the day, to like start connecting back with something that's real and less, digital ties. And I don't know.
Yeah, dude, I can't believe I wonder. I was joking with my buddy about that this weekend. Actually, I was like joking if it's just like we're getting old, because when we were 18, we'd have music that older people like, this is fucking ridiculous. How can you listen to this? But I mean, it's ridiculous. And I mean, and it's like the most popular song right now. I don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy. Don't get me started on that song.
It's a crazy, crazy time we live in, man. It's. I think what's happening is I honestly, I don't know, but I know part of it has to be like, especially for kind of pop culture, for something to explode like that. It's like, it's almost shocking in how simplistic it is, you know? And then for whatever reason, like shock value like that, you know, I don't know. I probably sound so ridiculous to people who can relate with that shock. Like those songs, I probably sound like a fucking idiot, but I don't know.
Whatever. I mean,
yeah. I don't know if they're listening to this podcast anyways.
Yeah, whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's a weird time, dude, but
It's weird.
that's why I love just totally happen chance being able to chat with guys like you. You know, I had no idea going into starting this podcast that it would be like almost 50-50 electronic artists and modern classical. It's kind of what it's become. And I had no idea, but it's been so cool, man. And it's just something that I've started to learn more about. And I love this music. And yeah, man, I don't know. I'm stoked. I'm stoked to see what happens. And you have the craziest story, man. There's going to be some really, really cool things happening. I know for sure. And regardless, I think you're the fourth dude to return. And that in itself is fucking cool, man. Cause like we've gotten to be buddies, we chat, you know, and that's the coolest thing of the whole podcast in general, is just being able to meet friends and get immersed in this music world. Because when I was outside this world, you know, I think I was busy with schoolwork. I wasn't making any music, and then just like working and stuff. But I don't know. There's this whole world I didn't know about, and everyone is so damn nice, and I've made awesome friends, and just yeah, man, it's been really fucking cool.
Yeah, I mean, I can say the same. I mean, it's been awesome coming back on here again.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah,
it's been unreal to see like what you've done with the podcast too.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
It's been really cool. I mean, just remember when we chatted last, you were talking about moving, and you're like, you're talking about, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna have my own space and everything, and bam, now here you are. But yeah, I mean, just being able to connect with people, I think, and I think music allows you to do that on like a very genuine level. Mm-hmm. It's not superficial. Like you can talk to people about like, yeah, I'm getting an emotional response to something. Like maybe it isn't something I would say to my coworker.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? I think it allows you to kind of break down some barrier. You kind of let down some of your defenses when you're able to connect with people through music, which gives you a connection on more of a real level, if that makes sense.
Oh, 100%, man. I think you nailed it, because for whatever reason, you know, you kind of have to be a little more straight-laced when you're working, or maybe I mean, people's jobs are so different, but I can only relate to what I'm doing, and maybe the content isn't so emotionally charging. You know, I feel super fortunate to have my job, but you know, working in software, it's not like this super emotionally charged experience, you know, and for that reason, yeah, it is. It's for sure a lot different in especially work relationships. I've made friends at work, but work relationships are always that way. And it's funny, man. I had a call. I tell my girlfriend about this from time to time. We'll bring it up. I was on a call, and it's me. It's a customer, and then there's like a partner of the company I work for, right? So they're kind of trying to help on behalf on this call, right? And this guy was saying that he was going to try and find this customer's utopia for the backup infrastructure. And he said utopia a couple times. I think it's a Monday morning too. I was like, I can't fucking do this. I
haven't had my coffee yet.
Yeah. And so it's a funny world, man, because you got that, and I personally don't kind of relate at that level, and I don't want to hate on anyone who does, you know, but I just don't get there. So then to be kind of in this music world and chat with guys like yourself and chat with other people on something that I think does allow for a deeper emotional connection and a deeper emotional response when you're talking about music is so awesome. It's so powerful. So yeah, I mean that's
Yeah.
It's been great.
Yeah, like connecting on a human level. I think
Right.
connecting emotionally is part of being a human. So
Yep.
being able to actually connect on an emotional and human level like that is, I think that's part of living your life and drawing inspiration from your life, from connections that you make and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, now that I think about it, in all kind of other facets of life, it seemed like there's some sort of underlying competition. It's like sports or career. There can always be this kind of competitive edge or whatever. But I've never once felt that when I'm talking with people about music. If you see someone put out an awesome release, I genuinely am just so happy for that person and just excited to listen to that music.
Yeah.
And everyone's so supportive of one another. It's awesome.
Yeah. It's you see your friend in the workplace get a promotion and you're like, man,
yeah,
I could have got that. But see your friend in the music world make something really awesome and you're like, whoa,
right,
you made that. That's awesome.
Right.
Yeah. That's just, it's different.
Yeah. It's different, man. And yeah, dude, I feel fortunate. I feel appreciative and fortunate to do this too, man. Cause it's funny. Like we were right on that border. I think now that I think about it, I think we chatted in like February and I think we moved April, like early April. So it was about to happen. And, I was kind of on the border cause I was thinking like, it's going to be more expensive. Maybe we should just stay in the one bed, but I love being here, and I think it has it was kind of a little bit of a step to be like, I think the podcast needs this, and I think it has made a difference. And now I have a space, and this table's here, dude. So if you're ever in Arizona, you can sit across from me, and we can actually film it right,
Oh, all right.
So you got to do the do the Arizona tour now.
I was just down in southern Utah a couple weeks ago.
Oh yeah,
I was down around your neck of the woods. But so my girlfriend graduated from school.
Uh-huh.
So I flew out there to see her graduation, and then we road trip back. She's
awesome.
come back for the summer, so we came back through, San Francisco, up through Nevada.
Oh yeah.
Down into Moab, and we're just down kicking around there for a little bit, then over in the sand dunes in Colorado, and then back up to Minnesota.
That's so cool. Is she coming back to Minnesota or just for summer? Or what are you guys going to be long distance after this? Or
she's in an internship right now, so she's doing a remote internship. So who knows where she graduated with her master's in data science. So
cool.
Kind of doing whatever she does.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah. Because I asked because my girlfriend and I, we were long distance for like 2 years. It was not so. I don't know if we talked about this before. It was closer. It's like 100 miles, so we'd see each other on the weekends. But yeah, I mean, I hand it to you, man.
Yeah, it's always a long way.
Yeah, dude.
But even going on that road trip was like, I feel like I got more material in my head than like stuff now. Just going out and doing life like that.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Yeah. But
because you see so much
down there.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. That's got to happen, man. I've been saying that more and more for anyone who jumps on episodes, and yourself included, for sure, because we become buddies now, so it'd be fucking awesome. But yeah, dude, and I would I imagine that'd be so cool to see other things, because you're right. Now you can kind of move forward as you move into the new space. You start working on music again. You can kind of emotionally respond to what I'm guessing is like a lot has changed, So I'm interested to see what comes of the music and such, dude.
As am I. It will be a surprise to myself too, I think. They've got some new pieces of gear and stuff on the way, and I think it will be I think I probably will go into it with an idea of what I want to do once I get in there, and it'll probably all change.
Yeah. That's how it happens, man.
Yeah.
That's exact. I remember, we talked about this too, but when I started making music, I went into it in a totally different genre. And then, I would not have thought I'd be making kind of piano, ambient, electronic, melding music. I just never... It's not what I thought I would have done. And, you go into these things with ideas and then...
Well, yeah. When I first started doing stuff, it was hip-hop. production, like making beats for my buddies, and like things like junior, senior year of high school. I was always the guy on like computer, like putting in little beats and stuff, and then trying to do like progressive house, and then trying to do all sorts of crazy electronic stuff, and then boom, now I'm sitting here next to a piano, which is what I was doing when I was like 8.
Yeah. Well, that's so cool, man, because I'm sure you can agree that when you find what clicks, it really, you really will you understand it. You might have felt like, okay, with the beats it was cool, progressive house, this was awesome, but I'm assuming that once you started writing with the piano for the new stuff, it felt different. Like you felt like you could express yourself in a different way.
Yeah, it completely changed. I think it's for, I mean, not to sound dramatic, but I think it really changed my life once I figured out that style of stuff, and hearing a few different artists that have given me inspiration. I think it really definitely changed my trajectory on what I thought I was going to be doing with my life. But there's something about for me is sitting down at the piano and just playing it that I don't think I ever got from making a beat or trying to make an electronic track or anything like that. It's something clicked, and once I heard certain artists that I really draw inspiration from, once I heard them and realized, oh wow, this is like what I've always wanted to make. I never knew this was really even a thing. Like I had it in my head. I had it in my head of this would be cool to make something like that, and then figuring out it's a thing, and then like you just go down a rabbit hole, and then you figure it just starts opening up even more, and you're like, all right, well, now I'm here. Now I'm got a piano and all this stuff, and
yeah, man, that's really cool because it seems like the kind of I don't know, the process maybe of making beats or progressive house, you could be so caught up in working in software, and kind of you don't have this flow of creativity that I think you can when you're working on piano. So you're probably connecting with this moment where you can kind of almost get out of your own way, just start playing and think like it's this one-to-one relation with like you and the piano, and then music is coming out, that there's almost this block when you work on music in the computer that you have to noodle around for hours and hours and move things around and all this stuff. Right. It can almost be a hindrance. So that's so cool you mentioned it that way, because it's like when you're sitting there just allowing for the moment to happen, you kind of have these bouts of creativity and write these beautiful melodies. Yeah.
There's no stopping your kind of like flow state that you get into. As opposed to sometimes when you're in the box kind of working on stuff, you start playing an idea, and you've played it so many times, you've heard it looping so many times, you start getting sick of it, and you start questioning yourself. And as opposed to when you're just kind of playing on something, it's just you're getting out of your own way, and you're just letting yourself talk on the piano, I guess.
Yeah. Do you find then, so if we go kind of into that process a little bit, when you turn the mics on, are you kind of treating these as one or two takes? Like, so if we go in how By the Woods was written, that I know isn't just repeated about 10,000 times and iterated perfectly, but is it almost like a one or two take to get that melody out, and then you leave it, so you almost don't shoot yourself in the foot by reworking things like 10,000 times, which I know I've done about
the ear fatigue, harmonic fatigue, and I think usually what I do is I'll start in the whatever, I'll start in some kind of key or something like that. Then I'll just start. A lot of times I'll do is turn the mics on, and I'll start playing in that key, improvising on a pattern, some kind of chord progression or something like that, and just turning on the mics and like playing through it, not thinking about really anything, and just kind of letting it just play it, and then I'll go back and I'll just start like listening to it.
Yeah.
And I'll just be like, oh, okay, that kind of sounded good. And I did play that a couple times. All right, yeah, and I'll do it for when I say I'll start recording stuff, I'll do it for probably like 15 minutes straight. So I'm not really recording for a live take or a good take by chance, but I'm just recording to figure out if I have any ideas going around that I like.
Yeah.
And then once I will find something, then I can go in and be a little bit more surgical on it and start actually writing a piece of music, writing what I want to actually record as a final take.
Right.
It's almost like a 2-step process. It's kind of puking onto the piano, for lack of a better term, and then kind of sifting through it and figuring out, okay, that was good. I like that. And then going in and trying to do it. And then there's a lot of times where you start playing stuff and after a while it just gets super old. So I have a lot of stuff that's sitting just in my hard drive that is just, maybe I'll like it if I listen to it in like 6 months from now.
Yeah.
But if I don't like it at the time, it's just kind of, get out of here.
Yeah. I think the second part you mentioned is really useful, because if it doesn't click at the first time, it is good to put it in kind of a back burner and go re-listen to it. Because sometimes, a person can re-listen to a track with fresh ears and get an idea or hear it in a different way. And I found where if I will write something and then come back to it a few months later, I can be more objective about it because I'm like a new person. So I'm like, I'm better than I was then,
Right,
so you can be more, you're not subjective at the moment where you're like tied to your ego, where you're like, I can write music,
Mm-hmm.
You can kind of, you can kind of look back and I found for myself, be a little bit more objective. And I mean, I think that's useful. And I think it's just so cool how you have this like stream of consciousness process to make music. I just think I think everyone has it to some certain degree, whatever it is, it's like even electronic guys, or, I mean, I don't mean to say even, but, even working in the DAW, there's going to be some sort of process where you're spitting out ideas.
Your flow state type.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, I think it goes with any type of music that you make, is you're able to get into kind of I mean, really good electronic producers, they treat their DAW like an instrument, so they can sit in there and use it like a flow state. I can't. I'm not that proficient in my DAW to be able to sit there and play it like a complete instrument. Which is why I think I like being outside the box and being on the piano, is because that's something that I can do, and I can actually get ideas.
Oh shit!
My chair. This thing does it probably like every once in a while. But yeah, kind of just getting that own little flow state.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, dude, I totally agree, man. It's funny how each person's kind of process is a bit different, but it's always kind of getting in that flow state and letting stuff just kind of fall on the paper or whatnot. I was thinking as you're mentioning that it'd be so cool. I don't know if anyone does this or this is even of interest for kind of the modern classical scene, but it'd be so cool to stream on Twitch. I know a lot of electronic producers will stream while they're working on tracks, but I haven't heard of a guy in modern classical, guy or girl, to stream that process like on Twitch or YouTube or something. Because I feel like that'd be so sick to see, like, especially if you could release clips after the fact of like, By the Woods, here are the tracks, and then you had like visual components of like that creative process behind it, where you're like, oh, here's the moment where I caught the melody idea from Martin or something. Like that would be.
Chris Bartels does that.
Oh, he does?
Through his Elskavan and Blurstem, his monikers that he works out of, which they're more along that modern classical style. But that guy's a wizard in his DAW. Whenever I work with him, it's my jaw. I have to pick it up off the floor about how proficient he is. He's set up shortcuts in my computer and stuff like that. But he does that. And it's really cool. We're working on an EP together, actually. And he live streamed our session of
cool.
We both were in on it, and I was kind of sitting there like typing, like, yeah, do that. And he Twitch streamed that, and we've had a couple sessions. But yeah, he's
That's
he
cool.
does that. It's pretty cool to see the process. I agree. I love seeing stuff like that. I love watching. Do you ever watch like Fact Against the Clocks?
Oh yeah.
I watch those all the time. Just seeing like
Yeah.
these guys get into like you're saying that flow state where I think that's something that comes with learning a ton, like we were talking about. The more you learn, the more quickly you're able to get into that flow state. So if you're able to learn your DAW and your instruments in and out, you can get into that type of deal. So yeah.
Yeah, those are so interesting. I think I saw one with Flux Pavilion, and it's as long as we're talking about the same thing, it's like creating a song within
10 minutes.
10 minutes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, those are so cool. And I remember watching those when I just started, and I didn't know how to use, I think I was still using FL Studios. I didn't know how to do anything. And I watched this and my mind was blown, dude.
Yeah, you're like, oh God, how am I ever going to do that?
Yeah. But you're right, dude. You kind of learn over time. You kind of learn tricks, you know. I'm thinking like within Ableton, I kind of know my limitations. Like I'll know where a song is going to go. If I start making something, I'm like, okay, I know I'm going to throw like a bass line in here, and like there's certain things, you know.
Right.
But the more you work on those things, you develop different skills, and it's the same thing for writing piano. You know, you develop different techniques, different understandings of theory, and then you have just a bigger toolbox, and then you just have a more things you can draw on. Yeah.
Learn all the rules, and then get good enough where you can start breaking them and make some cool stuff. I don't know. Yeah, it's funny as I think I was kind of in the same boat. I would start watching those when I was doing more electronic music stuff. And I'm like, I'll never be this good. Like, I don't even know anything that's on their screen right now. Now I watch them, and for the most part, I understand exactly what they're doing now.
Right.
Which is really cool. I think like I get really excited when I see them doing something that I think I wouldn't have known a few months ago, and then I'll even rewatch the same episode again, and I'll see it, and I'll be like, I know what he's doing now. That's awesome that I know that. And it's kind of just that learning process, which is cool.
Oh, 100%, man. And it's like, it's crazy because there is such a wealth of knowledge with those. Like I chatted with this dude, Mr. Bill. He came. It was actually, let me think. Monday. Yeah, Monday. Our episode released. This week is weird. But I was chatting with him, and he does a lot of Ableton tutorials.
Sure.
And he's like the most technically proficient dude I've ever seen in Ableton, and he'll do tutorials where he references the manual for Ableton, which is like unheard. You know, people don't do like and down to these like such granular aspects of selections within. And I was like, I know my ABCs, you know, I know, and he's speaking. You know, he's
10
writing
different languages at the same time. Right.
Yeah. So it's fun, man, and there's that depthness to everything, and it's fun because when you see someone do that, then you get the sense that there's just so much more to do. You know, so much. There's no ceiling on this stuff.
Yeah. It's intimidating, but it's also inspiring because you're like, I have more to learn, and I can learn it. It's just, it's not like learning something like that takes anything other than just taking the time to learn it.
Right. Yeah, and it comes down. I mean, then it's time, you know, and we're both working. It's a grind, man. Like today I worked from home, and I had a pretty light schedule, and then I still was like, I'd work on a couple of my own things, and then suddenly it's 5. Like, man, I need a 50-hour day to do all the shit I want to do.
Yeah, you'd be like, Phil, and just don't sleep.
Yeah, he doesn't sleep.
No, I don't think so. At least. I don't know. Yeah, I don't get enough sleep. Well, right now I am, but I'm sure in a couple months I will probably be not sleeping much.
Yeah, that writing process. Yeah.
Late. It'll go into probably there'll be some very sleep deprived times, but I like it. So
yeah. Do you enjoy? I think we might have chatted about this. I'm pretty certain we did, but do you enjoy that of kind of almost getting in that sleep deprived state when you're creating? Does that help? Or is it just all kind of happen chance? Like something comes and something.
I don't know. I feel like when I am really tired, I just want to take a nap. But
Yeah.
I do write a lot of stuff really late at night, though. I have noticed that stuff or ideas that I tend to really like come super, super late at night. Usually if I'm writing stuff in the day, I'll know right away if I'm going to be writing anything good or not.
Uh-huh.
It'll happen. And then if nothing comes within the first couple hours, I'll just kind of, go do something else for a while. But usually like around night is when I start to figure out stuff, or I don't know if it's maybe just the quiet or something like that, but yeah, that's kind of usually when the ideas come, and I don't think I'm usually sleep deprived or anything like that, but I think it turns into I will start working on something until like 3 or 4 in the morning if when I do stumble across something, and I'll do that thing where I turn the mics on and I'll just start playing for however long, and then I get into it's a rabbit hole.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah, because it seems like the removal of because it's dark, it's like late, it's dark, so you probably don't have a lot of other influences, and so that I'm assuming helps. But then also, so many people mention like that time, like night when I don't know what it is. I've been there for sure. It almost is a time when it's maybe more easy to kind of get in a flow state. And I think I watched some, I don't know, maybe it was like a TED talk on it or something, but there are these different parts of the brain that are active at different times of the day based on like, hormones that are released and how, if you're seeing light, you're releasing different hormones in your brain. So I think if I remember this correctly, like there will be kind of parts of your brain that are more analytical that will be engaged in the day, and then parts of your brain that are more going to push that sleep state and allow you to be kind of delirious when you're dreaming.
Sure.
Those come online at night. So you kind of almost get in this weird middle ground where some of these like highly analytical aspects of the brain that are engaged turn off, and you can kind of get in this weird state where you're more open to new ideas and different. I think it's like it's kind of being allowing yourself to engage more easily in the flow state, I think is what's happening. I don't know enough about it. It's interesting. It's really interesting.
I don't know, like the any science behind it. It almost feels like at that point of the day you're just kind of releasing your emotions of the day.
Yeah.
Very just kind of getting rid of everything before you go to bed or something.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like to me when something like that does happen. They have a song called Sleep Song that I think I recorded like almost 3 o'clock in the morning. And I remember when I recorded it, I just started kind of playing around, and then when it all started coming together, it almost just started feeling like it was just kind of letting the day go, and just kind of the emotions of the day, and it all just kind of came. And I remember that song like very specifically, writing it as kind of being like, this is why I like writing at night, because it was so quiet. It was just like the perfect. Yeah, I don't know.
No, man, I think that's so cool, because it's like it's cool because as you express it with your music, you're able to have this. It's like a cathartic experience writing music. Like you're letting emotions go through the music, and that's so interesting, man. Because I think that lends. You probably find this experience where if you are kind of releasing emotions of the day through your music, that's what clicks. You're like, okay, this is good. And then people listen to your music and they connect with it emotionally. It's like there's something tangible there almost.
Yeah. It's like cool. Someone else has felt that emotion too.
Right.
And they connect with it. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I love that stuff, dude. And yeah, it's just you can, I'll say it again. When we first chatted, I mean, I loved every track on By the Woods, and in the simplicity, there's just such beautiful melodies, and I just I love how you approached it. You know, it's like you're brought right there. You know, you're kind of in the moment just based on how it's recording. You can hear like, you know, every creak. It's just, it's like this, I don't know how to describe it, like this simplistic approach, but the melodies are so beautiful that it just creates this awesome music. And, fuck, man, I'm excited to see where it goes. And I'm genuinely, humbled to be able to be on the reworks too, man. That was so cool. And, you know, just, you know, really appreciative, because I'm kind of in the boat where I haven't released a ton of stuff, but we're buddies chatting, and I sent you some music. You're like, yeah, fuck yeah, let's do it. And like that, I truly, honestly, am super appreciative, because I feel honored to be on there, and I'm fucking stoked to see it come out, man. Fuck.
Thanks for being on it. I mean, I definitely, the stuff that you'd sent me before, I genuinely liked, and I had just had that, I don't know, just kind of notion. I was like, all right, I hope. Let's go.
Thanks,
yeah. Because, I mean, I couldn't have been more happy with it. My girlfriend listened. I think your track is my girlfriend's favorite track on the rework. Cool. So yeah, awesome. It's awesome. I appreciate you jumping on board and being a part of it.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And I'm stoked to see where everything goes. I'm stoked to see this release, and this worked out so perfectly, man. I'm really glad we did this right before the release, so we could chat about it. You know, we could talk again, and yeah, man, it's awesome.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me again, man.
Dude, absolutely. And we're going to have to do one in, I don't know, another 4 or 6 months, whenever we want to do it. Right. Maybe once you moved in, you're working on new music, either around a new release or whatever, we'll knock another one out.
Yeah, I'm always up to having a drink and chatting with you, man.
Fuck yeah. Sounds good, dude.